In this video, I will discuss the culture and education of Pakistan, as well as strategies for mainstream teachers to include and help ESL students in their adjustment to the mainstream classroom and school in the United States. Pakistan is located in South Asia and borders Afghanistan to the northwest, Jammu and Kashmir to the northeast, India to the east and southeast, Iran to the west, and the Arabian Sea to the south. Urdu, a mixture of Persian, Arabic, and other local languages, is the official language of Pakistan and is similar to Hindi but written in Arabic script. Other languages spoken in Pakistan include Punjabi, Sindhi, Pashto, and Balochi. English is also considered an official language, yet is used as the elite language and for government business. Experts say that there are an estimated 300 dialects and languages spoken in the country today, each distinctly different from the other. This is a map that I found on Google Images that demonstrates the various languages of Pakistan and in what region they are spoken. As I mentioned before, Urdu is the official language of the country, and you can see that it is spoken in most of the regions as well. This means that many of the people living in Pakistan speak both a dialect and Urdu, making them bilingual, or speaking more than one language. Pakistan is a Muslim republic. 97% of its people practice Islam, while other religions such as Christianity, Hinduism, and Sikhism make up the other 3%. Islam also plays an essential role in shaping other facets of their lives as prescribed by the Quran. Muslims are required to pray 5 times a day, at dawn, noon, afternoon, sunset, and evening. As Sunday is the holy day in Christianity, Friday is the Muslim holy day and all shops are closed. During Ramadan, Muslims must fast from dawn until dusk and are not allowed to work as many hours. They are also not allowed to partake in activities such as smoking or gum chewing. Culinary art in Pakistan encompasses a mix of Middle Eastern, Iranian, Afghan, Indian, and Turkish influences that reflect the country's history, as well as the variation of cooking practices from across the surrounding regions. Concerning tradition, there are many customs that must be followed. One is that Muslims do not eat pork, which must be taken into consideration with 97% of the population practicing Islam. The other custom mentioned above is that during the holy month of Ramadan, one must fast and it is a daily activity. In Pakistan, one uses many types of spices such as chili powder, cinnamon, coriander, bay leaf, garlic, nutmeg, and curry. Meat, which would be beef, lamb, or chicken, is typically marinated in yogurt and white rice is served as a side dish. Green tea is considered the typical drink to serve at every meal. There are differences and similarities between Pakistani and American dining etiquette. First, before entering the home, you are expected to remove your shoes. If you are invited as a guest for dinner, you should arrive at least 15 minutes late, but never later than 1 hour. Before dinner, a water basin is passed around so that everyone may wash his or her hands. Pakistanis are very concerned with the cleanliness of their hands for religious purposes, but also because utensils are not used for eating. Rather, you serve yourself and eat with your right hand. Men and women usually eat in separate rooms unless there are no guests, in which case everyone eats together, so make sure to let your host show you the proper place to sit. Dinner may be served on a tablecloth on the floor or on a table of knee height. It is preferred to sit with your legs crossed. Showing the bottoms of the feet is seen as rude in Pakistani culture, as feet are considered dirty. Last, dinner is always served first to the eldest in the group, and the family does not begin to eat until the senior member has begun. In Pakistan, family is very important and it includes the nuclear and extended family. It is a hierarchical society where people are respected because of their age and social status. Elders in the group are held as wise and are approached for advice in the family. They are also, as I mentioned, served first at dinner, but also provided the best portions of food and always introduced first. Families in Pakistan are usually very large and very private. Politics and government in Pakistan have been unstable since its independence from India in 1947. Since this time, Pakistan's government has frequently alternated between a military dictatorship and a democracy. Fundamentalist militant groups, underdevelopment, and corruption have threatened the country's stability. Pakistan is a nuclear country, housing 80 to 100 nuclear weapons. After the September 11th attacks in 2001 in the U.S., Pakistan became a key ally in the war on terror with the United States. In return for their support, Pakistan had sanctions lifted and has received billions of dollars in U.S. aid since 2001. In June 2004, President George W. Bush designated Pakistan as a major non-NATO ally, making it eligible to purchase advanced American military technology. Despite this status, relations between the U.S. and Pakistan are unsteady. Although Pakistan has arrested over 500 al-Qaeda members and given them to the United States, senior U.S. officials have been skeptical of Pakistan's private loyalty to the war on terrorism. The CIA had long suspected that Osama bin Laden, then head of al-Qaeda, was hiding in Pakistan and India, and the United States have accused Pakistan of harboring and hiding terrorists within the country, although Pakistan denied the allegations. Matters worsened on May 2, 2011, when Osama bin Laden was killed by American Special Forces in a raid on his compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. At this point, many allegations were made that Pakistan's government knew of bin Laden's location and was protecting him, especially considering that his compound was within miles of the Pakistan Military Academy, sometimes deemed America's West Point. Regardless, Pakistan has lost thousands of lives since joining the war on terror, both military and civilian. Suicide bombs are frequent within the country when they were practically non-existent before 9/11. Pakistani officials and civilians are also angry at the American drone strikes that kill numerous civilians and cause fear. There are hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing conflict between the Taliban and Pakistani forces in the Northwest Territories, which border Afghanistan. Because of this, the economy is very unstable. Some of Pakistan's politicians state that the war on terror has cost the country $70 billion and that the United States is trying to make Pakistan dependent on U.S. aid. Some question whether there is a direct link between terrorism and severe poverty and/or a lack of access to academic and cultural education in this region. Although there has been no proven connection, Pakistan's educational system is in constant reform. In 1998, the government of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif announced a new education policy in an attempt to increase the number of elementary and secondary schools in the country. The policy also included the incorporation of female children and a non-formal education into the policy outline, as well as the training of nearly 40,000 teachers each year to maintain a smaller class ratio. Shortly thereafter, his government was ousted and the project thus jeopardized by political instability. In June 2013, however, Nawaz Sharif was re-elected as Prime Minister. Many hope that his re-election will bring about educational reform in Pakistan. Yet there is still doubt for many reasons. In 2012, a 15-year-old Pakistani girl, Malala Yousafzai, was shot in the head on her way home from school for her views on promoting education for girls. She survived, and from this incident, a major movement has arisen in the support for women's rights and equal education in the region. Also, according to UNESCO, literacy in Pakistan is very low, with the Federal Education Ministry of Pakistan releasing statistics where the overall literacy rate is 46%, with only 26% of girls being literate. However, independent sources are skeptical about this information, stating that the overall literacy rate is 26%, with only 12% of women or girls literate. Poverty is a large issue in Pakistan as well, where many children work to support their families. This creates an obstacle for promoting education, especially in rural areas. According to UNICEF, almost 18% of Pakistani children work to support their family, with more boys working than girls, as most domestic positions tend to hire males. As I mentioned before, many children in Pakistan are not able to attend school for a number of reasons. Whether the child must work to help support the family cannot afford school books, or even that the child is of refugee status. In the ESL classroom, many students come from little to no educational background, and teachers must be aware of their prior experiences in order to help them maximally achieve inside and outside of the classroom. Even if they have had formal education, this does not mean that they will not struggle with cultural differences in American classrooms. Schools around the world are very different in their instruction, in their organization, and in the way that they coincide with cultural norms of the country. When planning instruction, teachers must consider these differences in the student's background and culture. Teachers must understand that school is not always mandatory where these students come from, and that they have different beliefs about education and about different facets of life. Some students may come from an educational background where they are not required to participate in the classroom, and instead are taught to learn by rote and memory. Learning how to do something as simple as participate may create a difficult transition for these students, and so it's important for teachers to reflect on a variety of learning systems represented in our culture. It is an overwhelming task to create a lesson plan that includes all students, especially taking into consideration their diverse learning experiences and cultural backgrounds. On the following slides, I have listed some tips that Sylvia Helmer and Catherine Eddy share in their book, Look at Me When I Talk to You. These tips are intended to include ESL students, as well as ease their adjustment into the mainstream classroom. First, make meaningful connections between classroom material and its function in the real world. Also, use functional language when you speak to the classroom. This will help ESL students learn common English phrases used to accomplish things. Be patient and helpful. Be aware that ESL students are attempting to cope with a new life in the United States and the changes that come along with it. Remember that they are also experiencing loss of their home and what is known to them. Be clear about your expectations. Don't assume anything. Establish clear routines and give feedback and support. Write out these routines and your expectations. Use learning partners in group projects. In this way, we focus on skills and talents instead of language proficiency. A hands-on learning approach proves very successful. Give praise and grades for effort and participation instead of always for perfection. Use graphic organizers, for example, tables and charts, as well as visuals in your teaching. Get to know the students and do research on their home country. Use them as resources as they bring so much outside knowledge and many diverse perspectives to a classroom. And last, never underestimate the power of the teachable moment. Any opportunity for students to learn from each other is a moment worth valuing. In conclusion, ELLs, or English language learners, have needs that go far beyond simply coming to class and learning English. Each student has a different set of skills, behavior patterns, and ideas that he or she brings to class, and teachers must be aware of this in order to benefit the education of all students. As Helmer and Eddy state on page 94 of their book, quote, "Cultural norms accepted in the English-speaking world are not necessarily a reliable measure when interpreting the actions of others or for assuming that our own actions will be understood, nor can they be used to predict what will happen in a given situation." Unquote. Teachers must be made aware of the diverse set of circumstances from which ELLs arrive into the United States. These students are special, and they deserve the chance to have a meaningful education that will prepare them for a successful life.